Imagine this. A butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, and a tornado forms in Texas. Sounds like a scene from a sci-fi movie, right? But this isn't fantasy. This idea is rooted in real science, and it has a name: the butterfly effect. And no, it's not just about butterflies or weather. It's about the mind-bending truth that tiny things can change everything, in ways you can't predict, in ways no one sees coming. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how that works. Not just in science, but in your life, your choices, and your future. Because once you understand this, nothing will feel small ever again. What is the butterfly effect? The butterfly effect is a concept that comes from chaos theory, a field of mathematics that studies complex systems that are highly sensitive to initial conditions. In plain English, small things can lead to massive outcomes. The term was popularized by meteorologist Edward Lorenz in the 1960s. He was working on a weather simulation model. One day, he decided to repeat a simulation but rounded off one of the variables ever so slightly. Instead of entering 0.506127, he entered 0.506. Tiny change, right? But the results were wildly different. This wasn't a computer error. This was a revelation. The system was sensitive to initial conditions. A seemingly insignificant change completely altered the outcome. Lorenz famously said that if a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, it could set off a tornado in Texas. He didn't mean it literally, but metaphorically, to show how small causes can have big effects. Think about that. You press snooze on your alarm one morning. That makes you late. That makes you miss a train. That means you bump into someone at the next stop. That person ends up becoming your business partner, or even your spouse, all because of a snooze button. So, what makes this possible? Let's dive just a little into the science. Don't worry, I'll keep it light. The butterfly effect is part of chaos theory, which is all about systems that are deterministic but unpredictable. That means they follow rules, but we still can't predict what they'll do in the long term. Here's why. Tiny inputs get magnified over time. A classic example is the double pendulum. You have one pendulum hanging from another. Push it just slightly differently, and its path will completely change. Even if you set up two identical systems, the tiniest variation will eventually lead to two totally different results. It's like trying to predict the path of a leaf in a storm. Sure, it's affected by wind and gravity, but the shape of the leaf, the tiniest gust, the angle of air, they all change everything. This is why weather forecasts are so often wrong past a few days. The weather is a chaotic system, and because we can never measure every factor with perfect accuracy, our predictions fall apart. You might be thinking, cool, but I'm not a scientist. Why should I care? Because this isn't just about weather or pendulums. It's about your life. Ever heard of Steve Jobs dropping out of college? That small decision led him to take a calligraphy class he wouldn't have otherwise taken. That class inspired the elegant typography on the first Macintosh. Today, we all enjoy beautiful fonts on our devices, all because of a college dropout who wandered into a class. Or consider Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat. One small act of defiance, one moment of courage, and it became the spark for the entire civil rights movement. These aren't isolated incidents. They're proof that tiny actions can have ripples beyond anything we can imagine. Now let's go back to 1961. The world hadn't yet heard of the term butterfly effect. In fact, the very idea that tiny causes could lead to massive effects hadn't been fully accepted by the scientific community. That was about to change. Thanks to a man named Edward Lorenz, a mathematician and meteorologist at MIT. Lorenz wasn't trying to shake up the world. He was just trying to make weather predictions a little more efficient. He had built a primitive computer model of the atmosphere using 12 equations, each one representing different elements like temperature, pressure, wind, and humidity. It was basic compared to today's standards, but revolutionary for its time. Now here's where it gets interesting. On one cold afternoon, Lorenz was running a simulation on this computer. He wanted to repeat a weather pattern he had already generated, just to observe it more closely. But to save time, instead of re-entering all 6 decimal places of each data point, he rounded them off. So instead of typing something like 0.506127, he typed just 0.506, a difference of just 3 decimal places. Something that, to most scientists at the time, would have seemed utterly meaningless. He walked away to get a coffee. When he returned, the machine had finished the simulation. And what he saw blew his mind. The first few results were nearly identical to the original simulation, but then, gradually, subtly, the paths began to diverge. By the halfway point, the weather patterns were wildly different. Lorenz was stunned. He double-checked the code. No errors. He re-entered the values. Same outcome. What had happened was this. That tiny rounding error, a difference of just 0.000127, had cascaded through the equations. Each step multiplied that tiny shift until the end result bore no resemblance to the original. It was as if 2 identical universes had split off just from a microscopic twitch. Lorenz later described it like this: if the flap of a butterfly's wings can change the course of a tornado, then long-range weather forecasting becomes almost impossible. And thus, the butterfly effect was born, not as a poetic idea, but as a mathematical truth. This experiment didn't just change weather science. It rewired how we think about reality. It proved that deterministic systems, like the atmosphere and perhaps even life itself, could be completely altered by tiny, almost invisible variables. And from that day forward, scientists realized something humbling. We might never fully predict complex systems, because the tiniest unknowns might shift everything. All right, so how does this affect you? It means you matter more than you think. Every decision you make, every action you take, no matter how small, could set off a chain of events that echoes far beyond what you can see. That kind word you said to a stranger, maybe it saved them from giving up. That time you stayed late at work, maybe your boss noticed and it led to a promotion you didn't expect. That book you decided to read, it might plant an idea that changes your path. We often think we need to make huge moves to change our lives, but the butterfly effect reminds us it's the little things, the micro decisions, the nudges. Now I know what you're thinking. So if I choose tea over coffee today, I could become president one day? Okay, maybe not that dramatic. But hey, you never know. Maybe the coffee shop you skipped had a leaky ceiling, and avoiding it saved your laptop, which kept your business going, which paid for your trip to meet your future co-founder. It sounds crazy, but that's the point. Life is a wild chain reaction. You're just riding the chaos, one butterfly wing at a time. Here's the real truth, the one most people miss. The butterfly effect isn't just about consequences. It's about awareness. Awareness that your life is more connected, more powerful, and more delicate than you think. And that's not a bad thing. That's beautiful. It means that even when the world feels too big and you feel too small, you're part of something vast, and your choices ripple through it all. You are not insignificant. You are a butterfly, flapping your wings. Your smallest actions might be the reason an entire world exists tomorrow. We've spent this journey learning how the butterfly effect explains the chaos of weather, the mysteries of time, the illusions of control, and how even a flap of a butterfly's wings could rewrite fate. But now, let's bring it home. Let's step into your story, because this isn't just about science or metaphors. It's about your daily life, your thoughts, your choices, your quiet moments, your power. The truth is, you're already using the butterfly effect every day, whether you realize it or not. The real question is, are you using it consciously, or are you letting it use you? You don't have to change the world, but you can change one thought, and that might change someone else's life. That might ripple into a completely different path. We never really know. That's what makes this both scary and beautiful. Start small. Be radically present. Notice how everything is connected. How the way you speak to your parents today may shape how you parent your children tomorrow. How smiling at a stranger might be the only light in their darkest day. How skipping one bad habit today may unlock a door in your future that would have remained locked otherwise. Use the butterfly effect by honoring the power of your smallest actions. See them not as trivial, but as sacred, because they are. Every time you take a breath before reacting, you create a new reality. Every time you choose to forgive rather than resent, you tilt the future slightly. And enough slight tilts change the destination completely. Make it a practice. Choose kindness in the mundane. Pay attention to your impulses. They're signals from your inner world. Heal what's within you, because unresolved pain often flaps wings that stir storms in other people. Even a 1% shift in your energy can ripple into something enormous down the road, like compound interest, but with karma. Understand this. The butterfly effect is not about making the perfect move. It's about realizing that there is no move that doesn't matter. Live as if the universe is listening, because it is. Live as if your timeline depends on how you treat this moment, because it does. The butterfly effect doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be aware, because awareness is the butterfly, and your awareness flaps its wings every time you choose presence over distraction, every time you choose responsibility over blame, every time you say, I can't see how this matters, but I'll trust that it does. That's how you use the butterfly effect, not by manipulating outcomes, but by realizing you're already the butterfly, and your next wing beat could start the storm that changes everything, not just for you, but for the world you haven't even seen yet. So the next time you think this is too small to matter, remember the butterfly effect. A flap of wings can shift the sky, a whisper can echo for generations, and a single choice, yours, might be the beginning of something monumental. You are the butterfly. You are the cause. You are the effect. And that is the truth they don't always tell you, because the world wants you to believe you're small, but the universe knows you're not. So flap your wings, make your move, and watch what happens next. I will meet you in the next video. Till then, watch this video of mine.